All right, so welcome back to our lazy cooking, as we like to call it. One of the coolest things that I've ever made and that I've always loved is cornbread. Cornbread is supposed to look like this. It's not supposed to look like anything else. It's not supposed to be soft all the way around. It's supposed to have a little bit of cornmeal, as you can tell, flaking off a little bit. It's supposed to be in a pan. Looks good on the other side. So the first and foremost thing that you gotta have is a good pan. Back in the States, you get a good cast iron pan. Season it with a little bit of Crisco, which is love, that we like to call in the South. Here in France, it's butter, and sometimes you might get offended if somebody calls Crisco not the coolest thing ever, like a chef that I used to work for. But anyway, so with that being said, what we need to do first and foremost, set your oven to 425 degrees, and we're gonna pop this baby in the oven, and while it is heating up, it's gonna heat up the pan, because you never put a cornbread batter into a cold pan. And the reason is because you want to have a good crust on the outside. You don't have a soft on softness. So with that being said, I'm going to pop this in the oven, and yeah, then we're going to wait. And now I'm going to drink my coffee for 15 minutes, and I'll see you soon. Sometimes you look out on life and while you're making cornbread, and life's grand. All right, so we're now waiting. Probably, I think the pan is gonna be hot, but I'm gonna take you through our ingredients now for our buttermilk cornbread. Whenever you have any ingredient, or actually an item called buttermilk cornbread, it probably needs to taste like buttermilk and then corn and then bread. All right, so now we have 4 white ingredients. I'm kind of laughing at that because probably a few people are making a few jokes about that right now. You could call it Colombian, but we'll just start with sugar. We have a little bit of baking soda. We also have flour, all-purpose flour for yourself, and then finishing off with salt. Along with that, we have cornmeal. This is yellow cornmeal. I actually couldn't procure, aka find, white cornmeal. My grandmother always used to make white cornmeal. Just, it is what it is, and I like yellow cornmeal as well. To that, we're gonna be adding some butter, a little bit of buttermilk, because you need to add that little sour flavor to it, and then finishing off with some eggs. It's a very, very easy batter to make. So let's get started. So I have a big bowl here. Gonna go ahead and put in all your dried ingredients. Whenever you're making a batter, always go in with all your dry ingredients first. So pretty easy, wow. Gonna put the white powders in. Might have spilled one, it's okay. I will put it back in there. So what I've done here, just spun everything around with a whisk in a bigger bowl. It's a little bit easier to go about that. Now what I'm gonna do is crack 2 eggs into that. Whenever you crack an egg, also, you never crack it on the side. You always crack egg on egg. I know it's a crime, egg on egg crime. Crack in. All right. From here, I'm just gonna slowly whisk in a little bit of the eggs, and it's gonna form a little bit of a paste. Once it gets to that little paste consistency, what I'm gonna do is add half of the buttermilk that we have here. So I'm just gonna pour that in. And it's lumpy, it's good for you. It's buttermilk, and it splatters all over you as well. It's not a bad thing to splatter. And the reason that you add half and half, if you didn't, you'd be whisking a little bit more and you'd actually have some really big lumps in your cornmeal batter. So as you can tell here, what we have is a thicker paste, and this is gonna actually thin out with the rest of the buttermilk here. Try to get everything out. You want to always save money throughout the year. It always adds up. At least that's what my mom says, and it's stuck in the back of my mind. I know some things that you never get rid of. And when I said butter, always add melted butter. You never add cold butter. And so what I've done here, melted on the stove top. Just gonna pour that right in at the end. At the end, very important, at the end. Right back. And guess what? Your cornmeal batter is now finished. Very, very easy batter, again, to make. It takes about 30 minutes to cook in your oven. And one thing you always want to remember, seeing that it's a batter, it needs to be runny. It doesn't need to be thick because it's a batter. So, with that being said, I'm going to check my pan real quick. Make sure she is hot, and it is hot. Okay, she's hot. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to chop off a little bit of butter because I can't find Crisco here. I'm just gonna throw it into the pan. You can hear that, hope you can hear that. All right, just gonna let that go for, I don't know, till the butter melts. After you put your butter or your Crisco in, I prefer Crisco just because it doesn't burn in the pan. Once we pull the pan out, we need to add a little bit of the cornmeal, and what that's actually going to do to the bottom of the pan is create a layer, a thicker layer for yourself. So whenever you're adding cornmeal, again, Chloe, I'm very, very sorry about what I'm fixing to do. You never add it in a bird's peak like this, because as you can tell, it kind of goes. For me, I'm more of a thrower like this, and Chloe, again, I'm so sorry for doing this to your kitchen. And so when you do it, you need to throw it very, very good like that. So side angle, just give it a good throw like that. So with that being said, you can always make a little smiley face as well. It's nice for yourself. Now we have a very, very hot pan. Get your throwing hand ready. All you can do is throw a good one. So throw it at side angle. Oh, you see it, it popped, it's nice. All right, just gonna pour your batter right inside. And this is the sound that you need to hear, because this means that everything is searing off on the bottom of it. All right. And if you don't have a hot pan, you're not gonna get a great sear on the bottom and the sides of your cornbread. As you can tell here, pan's very, very hot, and that's why you put it in beforehand. Now all we're gonna do is just pop it right back in the oven, cook it for 30 minutes. When it comes out, we'll show you how it goes. Try not to burn yourself like I just did. That kind of hurt. And voila. So we'll talk to you in a movie magic time of maybe like 5 seconds. Whenever you're almost ready to pull something out of the oven, I like to be in my ready stance. This is my ready stance, just like this. I'm opening the oven very fast. It's very hot. You do it very quickly. You don't put it directly on something, and wow, we have cornbread. Oh, that looks pretty good. Actually, looks really good. Ooh, you feel it? Don't feel it too much. Okay, it looks great. All right, so whenever you pull your cornbread out, you need to let it rest for about 3 minutes. The reason that you need to let it rest because it's very, very hot, number one, and then trying to maneuver around that, you will burn yourself. I've already burned myself already today by putting the cornbread in. But what you'll do right when it comes out, use your knife. We're just gonna scrape around. Do not use this side. Always use the back side of the knife. Put a plate right on top. And at this point, I'm either gonna look like a cool guy or a very, very bad guy because the cornbread didn't come out right and I didn't make it right. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna hold the plate, use 2 pot holders or 2 towels, and all we're gonna do is flip it over. It's gonna be hot. It did sound like it dropped. And again, this is the moment of truth. So, oh God, I love cooking. All right, so this is you know, how you're supposed to cook cornbread. I'm very happy with this. I'm very happy for you as well because this recipe works just like my grandmother taught me. As you can tell, we seared the top. On the outside, you do have a little bit of the cornmeal, and whenever you are setting it out, you're gonna always cut you off a piece, and if you hear the crunch going all the way through, which is nice. Oh yes. Let me cut a little bit more through. Sorry about that. Yes. Pick it up. I really want to taste it, but I know I'm going to burn my mouth. I'm still going to taste it. Okay, I can't taste it right now. All right, I'm going to cut off a piece. All right, so I'm very, it's very, very good. It's very, very hot. I can tell coming out of my mouth. So this is cooking cornbread 101. With your knife, always put it up under the plate. What this is going to allow as well is that it's going to not allow moisture to sit on the bottom to actually make your cornbread soft. So this is how you do cornbread 101, and this is how you get a dressing. So bon appetit from Paris.